Over the years, it has been extraordinary to watch what God does and how He does what He does in terms of providing financial provision for the needs in the body. One of the greatest things I've learned is that God's way of doing things is not our way. 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago, there was a tsunami in Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka. We responded, we were there in a relief effort, and then decided to continue that rebuilding effort and committed to build a village. At the time, we thought it was going to take about, when we were actually on the ground, we thought it was going to take about $500,000 or $600,000 to do it, which was a major undertaking for a church. But we really felt like that's what God said to do. So we jumped in, and my role in that was kind of the chief storyteller and the person responsible for communicating the needs so that the provision would be provided. So my thought was, wouldn't it be great, God, if you just had this one big donor come out of nowhere and say, I'll just write one check and you'll be done. I thought to myself, that's a good plan. Wouldn't that be great? Wow. That way we can get on to the real business of doing other things for God, and we'll have the little funding thing behind us. Well, God had a different plan. 3 years later, 3 years later, we were fully funded, and it didn't cost $500,000 or $600,000. It cost over $1.4 million. And instead of one happy, wealthy donor receiving some kind of an eternal inheritance and the joy from seeing a gift make such an impact in a nation and in a community, what we saw was literally, and I'm not making this up, over 30,000 people, 30,000 human beings that either gave directly, as in wrote a check or went online to give, and you know that when they gave, they prayed. And they were thankful that they had an opportunity to participate in this really extraordinary rebuilding effort that was such an expression of God's heart and God's love for people who really didn't know God at all. So 30,000 people, and that includes every individual, all the family members, and the churches. There were approximately 25 churches that participated with us, and the people in those churches joyfully rejoiced with us as they realized that their giving was touching lives in a place they would never go. And at the end of it, I realized God's wisdom and His plan to see this provision come to fruition and to get something, to establish something in Sri Lanka through a church, through His church, turned out to be way, way bigger than anything I could have ever thought. And certainly my plan was minuscule in terms of impact compared to what God had in mind. So over the years, I'm really learning that when God chooses to provide, He will do it in ways that we don't necessarily expect, maybe even we don't hope for, but ultimately He's going to provide, and when He does, it's going to bless lots more people, it's going to impact lots more lives, and the people on the journey of seeing that provision come in are going to be changed, and they will see God in a way that they could never have seen Him otherwise.